Hey, what up guys? Alright, so in the last video we set up our endpoints within Spring Boot. So now this is part 2 of the video where we're gonna then start working within our Android app, where we are going to then now validate the user, and then from there on see if after when the user puts in the correct details, do we get that response object back. Alright, so now we are here within the Authenticate user method, which is being called by the sign in btn set on click list, now as you can see at the top there. So now right after here where we say where we do our if block to validate the user, we're just gonna come down here. Now the first thing I need to do is so here within the sign up activity, the first URL I want to get, the first two things I want to get is the request queue and the URL. So I'm going to copy this, come back into the sign in activity Java class, and then paste those two here. And then this needs to change from sign up to sign in. Right, save that. Okay, we should have the request queue here at the top. Okay, so now we need to change this from register to log in. So remember, the IP address and the rest of the URL is going to be the same. The only difference is that we're going to go to log in. Save that. Alright, so because we are sending this as a JSON object, we need to set the parameters first. So it's not the same as when we did this the sign in request, the sign up request. So let me type it out and then I'll explain later afterwards. Set okay, so we're gonna say hash map, and then this is going to be string as the key, string as the value, and then we're just going to name this params, right, equals to new hash map string and string, and then close it off there. What am I doing? This is supposed to go between these two. Okay, save that. Alright, so now we then gonna do the same thing where we say params, right, dot put, and then we're gonna say the key is email, and then the value is gonna be et email dot get text, and then dot to string, and close it off there. I wanna just copy this and then say password, and change this to et underscore password. Save that. Alright, so now we've set our parameters. Now, like I said, as you saw within the previous video when we did our test, we are going to be sending a response. We're going to be sending this object, this information as a JSON. Apologies for that. Let me just minimize this. We're going to send this as a JSON object to our backend with that we tested with in the previous video. So now we're gonna set we're gonna set the request object as a JSON object. So I'm gonna say set request object. So now the one that we're gonna use is JSON object request, right? And then we're gonna just say JSON object request, and then we're gonna say equals to new JSON object request, right? And let's make sure we save this. Okay, so now just like when we did in the sign up form, just like how we did the string request, we're gonna pretty much do the exact same thing. The only difference is that this time it's gonna have a couple of different parameters as the string request. So in here, the first parameter is going to be request, right? Dot method, right? Dot post, right? Post. So let's import this class. Okay, then now we're gonna say URL, which is the URL that we set up here. Just remember to change it there to be login instead of register, right? That's the URL. And then in here we're gonna create an anonymous object. We're gonna say new, and then we're gonna say JSON object, right? And then we're gonna pass in the params that we set up here, right? Okay, and then after that, that's when we create the new response listener, and there you have it. So let's just put this on a different line so we can see what's going on, right? We have our response object, and then here I'm going to put a comma here and say new response error listener, and then that's pretty much it. Okay, so now because we're expecting a JSON object, which is what we're getting from our, as you saw when we tested within the within our Spring Boot project within Postman. Let me just show you here. So remember, this is returning an object. That is why we're using a JSON object to work with our, this is why we're using a JSON object request, because we're expecting an object in return, right? So now what we do in here, if I remember, we have to do a try block, right? And then here we're gonna say catch, and then we're gonna say JSON exception E. Okay, so now in here, what do we need to do? Because we're getting a JSON object request, so now in here we can get each and one of these, let me show you, each and one of these fields. So the user ID, the first name, last name, email, password, and create that if you want to, but we're just gonna get the first name, the last name, and the email. We don't need everything else. If you want to, you can add those, but again, it's up to you. So in here I'm gonna say string, and then first name, right? It's gonna equal to, we're gonna say response, right? Dot get, we're gonna say get, and then we're gonna say first name. All right, let's cast this to a string. All right, so remember that value, that column that we're getting here is this one over here, that JSON column over there. All right, so let's copy this So again, we're just going to get the last name, password, no, the email, sorry, the email, and then let's change this to say last name and then email. Alright, so what do we need? In here we don't really need to do much. You can just say e.print stack trace and that's it, right? What else? You can also say e.s out and say e.get message. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Alright, so now guys, since right, so since we're getting these objects from our response entity from our Spring Boot project, how do we pass this into, oh yeah, by the way, we still need to let's just put a comment there, pass values to profile activity. You see that there. And then, so what we first need to do then, we're going to come in here within our layout. We're going to create that profile activity so that we can pass the values that we're getting here to that activity. So what we need to do is say new activity, and then we're going to say empty activity. So let's say profile activity and then finish. Okay, so this is our profile activity here. Alright, so let's just give it a second to stop thinking there, as it's currently building the project again. Okay, so because we have this now profile activity, now what we need to do is let's just style it a bit. So remember, this is going to take up the same design as the login and sign up form design. So I think what I need to do is come into the sign in activity, and then in here we're just going to copy everything that's let's just say from the image. So we're going to copy everything up until that button over there. Copy that, close this, and then let's just come into the activity profile. Then we're going to paste all of that in here. Okay, so let's go to the top. Firstly, we're going to add some padding, which is going to be about, let's just say 15 dp, right? And then the image is going to stay, the text is going to stay, but it's going to change from sign in to profile. let's just add that background image. I forgot about that. Background, and then we're gonna say add drawable. So we're gonna say it's the alternative, the alt act image. So that's the one. Paste it there. Oh no, it's not this one. What did I name that image? I think it's alt image instead of, should have named that correctly. There you go. So profile details. So now we need to remove obviously the what you call it, this whole linear layout. Cut it out. Right, so that button needs to stay there. We will deal with it just now. So now we're just going to add a couple of text fields in here. Those are the text fields that we're just going to use to display the name and the what you call it, the name. You know what, let me put a linear layout within here. That's going to match the parent, and then height, we'll just say wrap content, and then excuse me, let's give it an ID. Should we? I think we should give it an ID. Let's just say details. Details layout. Alright, so now let's constrain this to the bottom of that text. Okay, so now why is it giving, oh yeah, right. Okay, so why is it giving in this? Okay, it's looking for the orientation. So the orientation will be vertical. Save it. Alright, so now within this layout we're going to paste the text fields, right? And then okay, so now let's change this to first name, last name, and then email. Okay, we can remove this. The text size can be about, let's just give it about 22. That should be fine. And then also this, I'm gonna remove this text over here, 22 SP. And then let's see, I don't want 22 SP, right? The text we're gonna remove as well. So now we know how it looks, so we don't have to stress about that. So we can remove the text that says profile details, right? Profile details, and save that. This just goes back to home, but we will actually change that button to sign out. Alright, and then the text will go from back to home to sign out. Save that. Okay, so now that we have this, what we need to do now in the profile activity, let's just create that method. So it's public void, and then we're gonna say sign I think that makes much more sense, right? We still need to say let's copy that and then make sure we paste it onto this button here. Save that. You should see it now. Alright, so now at the top here we're gonna set those values. So we're gonna say text, which is text view, right? And then we're gonna say, remember it's first name, last name, and then email. The button, should we give it an ID? I think we should give it an ID. Sign out, BTN. So let's give it that ID as well. So the current ID is button, so let's change it to sign out, BTN. Actually, I don't have to set this on-click button here because we're gonna set an on-click listener within the create method, so we don't need to call that. Alright, so profile. Alright, so now what then we need to do is we're gonna say first name, so we're gonna say first name, and then r.id dot okay, then let's say okay, so we're gonna say sign out BTN. Alright, and then obviously we're gonna set the on click listener. Right, and then obviously it's gonna call that sign out method. Okay, alright, so let's go back to the sign in activity. So remember, we need to take this information that we're getting from the response object and send it to this sign out sign in activity. I mean, this profile activity. So we're gonna say where are we? Oh yeah, sign in. So here we need to set those objects. We need to send an intent object onto this method over here. So let's say let's first come up here. So we're gonna say intent go to profile, right, new intent, right, and then we're gonna say it's going to be sign in activity dot this, right, and then we're gonna go to the profile activity dot class. Okay, so now let's pass in the values to this intent object that we just created here. So we're gonna say go to profile dot put extra, okay, and then we need to put in key value pairs. So we then gonna say first name, and then we're gonna get it from that first name string we created there at the top, which is this one here. Alright, we're gonna do the same thing with the other ones. Right, this is gonna be email and then last name. Right, let's change this to last name and then email. Okay, so let's see. Then after we've done this, what we need to then do is start the activity. So we're gonna call the method start activity, and then we're gonna say go to profile, right, and then here we'll say finish. Okay, we don't need to do much in here, so but we'll give a toast message. Here we'll say login failed. I'm gonna say length long, and that's it. The rest I'll say e dot print stack trace, and then as out e dot get message. Now I think that's pretty much it for the error on response error. Alright, so now remember we created a queue here at the top, so we need to do the same thing as we did within the sign up activity where we say queue. So this is the last thing that runs, and say add request, and then we're gonna say what's the name of this request? JSON object request, and then paste it within here and save it. So what we're doing here is we're getting these values obviously from the response object. We can take the password, we can take the created at, but we just need this, we don't need much. So, and then after that we create an intent object which is going to take us from the sign in activity to the profile activity after that, so that we can access this first name, last name, and email that we're getting from the response object. We need to then call this method called put extra. This method will then take a key and a value. So we're going to say the name of this value, the name of this value is first name, the other one is last name, and then email, right? And then we call this method called start activity, which is going to take us to the profile activity, and then finish. And then here within the profile activity, how are we going to get these values? So now let's get out here. let's say get intent extra values, right? And then after that, what we're gonna say, string, right? You know what, let's change the, oh no, it's fine. No, actually, let's change them. Let's just say txt, let's say tv underscore view, tv underscore first name, tv underscore last name, and then tv underscore email, and then change them here. tv underscore email, first name, right, sorry about that, guys. So first name, which equals to get, what is it, intent hold on, guys, I just need to remember what is it. And get extra, no, yeah, so it's get intent dot is it string extra? I think it's string extra, if I'm not mistaken. Just a second, I want to double check this so that I don't waste time. One moment for me, please. Alright, guys, I'm back. So I was correct. So it's get intent dot get extra string extra, and then what we do is we get the name that we set. So it's first name. So just remember this first name that we're getting here is the value we set here, where we say go to profile dot put extra and then first name, and then we're gonna do the rest. Copy that, paste. So we're gonna say last name and then email, and then we're gonna say last name and then email. Save it. Okay, so now that we've set these values, now we need to get so remember, we need to set these text fields that we set up here within the profile activity to the values that we're getting here from the intent. So these values that we got here. Alright, so now what we have to do is come down here and say alright, let's do that, and then all we have to do is say tvt underscore first name, right, dot set text we need the string. Let me see, is it set text? Yeah, that is set text. Alright, let's just say first name then I'm gonna copy this, paste it, and I think that's pretty much it. Okay, so now now we need to come in here and say let's copy this, right, we're gonna set these to null, null, and then null. And then the only thing we have to then now do is just return the user back to the home page. So again, we can say intent okay. Okay, so this method will just sign out the user, clear the text fields, and then just send the user back to what you call it, to the actually we don't even need this. Close it off. Right. Yeah, so it's just gonna log out the user, clear the text, and then it'll send us back to the main activity. Alright, so that's it for the profile activity. So hopefully we've done everything correctly, and then if so, all we have to then do is just test and see if I can log in. So like I said, I'm going to install the app on my phone, and then I will insert a clip right after here, and then you will see if everything is in order or not. If not, obviously we will address those issues. So now I'm just going to install the app, and then when we come back, hopefully everything is in order, and then we can close off the video. One moment for me, please. Alright guys, okay, so as you saw with the clip that I had inserted just now, um, I first started off by registering a user, and then I went to the login screen to try and sign in, and so therefore the email I used for editing, it seems as though it seems as though there's something wrong with the way our registration form is working. So when I decided to log in with a user that was already existing in the database, I was able to go through, and then as you saw, I logged in with John Doe's credentials, and it was able to take us to the profile activity, and it displayed the information that we are basically pulling here from the response object. So the login form is working. My apologies for that. Okay, so we're gonna come in here into the sign up activity. Now if you check, this is where the actual problem is, where I forgot to actually change the email the email parameter to email instead of first name. This was when I was copying these fields over, and so somehow I forgot to actually change this. So I'm just gonna highlight that and then say email and then save. Okay, now that should be fine. So but like I said, as you saw within the clip, I was able to register using John Doe's credentials, and I was able to go to the profile activity, and then also the profile activity was displaying the details for John Doe. But again, after this I will insert another clip just to show you that it is actually working, and then from there on we should then be able to end the video from there. So I think that's pretty much it, guys. So yeah, I will insert a clip, and then from there on just check it out, and then once you're done, I mean, you should see that it is working after registering with a new user, and then everything should be okay from there. Alright guys, so that's it for the video. Again, if you've liked what you've seen so far, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys within the next video. Thanks again for watching, and cheers for now.